Welcome to this quick guide where I'm going to show you how to update the BIOS on your Gigabyte motherboard. And if you get any value out of this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. But to get started with the guide, in this video I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can use to update the BIOS on any Gigabyte motherboard. For the first method, we're going to be updating the BIOS from inside Windows, and for the second method, we're going to be using the QFlash utility that comes with your motherboard to update the BIOS, and for the third method, we're going to be using a bootable USB flash drive that we can use to update the BIOS of our Gigabyte motherboard. Now, throughout this guide, I'm going to be using 2 different motherboards. One is my gaming motherboard, which is a Gigabyte AORUS B450 Elite V2, which uses an AMD chipset, and the second motherboard I'll be using throughout this guide is a Gigabyte H81M-S2PH. Now let's get started with the first method, and the first thing that you should probably do is to just make sure exactly what motherboard you have, and to do that you can click on the start button and then you can start typing. So you can do a search for system info. You can just type sysinfo and then launch the system information app. And then in this window, what you need to look at is the baseboard manufacturer and the baseboard product. Now you're on this video because you have a Gigabyte motherboard, so you'll probably know that. And then this is the model number of your motherboard. Once you have that info, you can close this window and then you can go ahead and do a Google search for your exact motherboard model. And then on the list of results, you should get the Gigabyte website with your motherboard's webpage. So I'm just going to click on that to go to this B450 support page. Now, the next thing that you need to have a look at is the revision of your motherboard. For my motherboard, there's only one web page, but if you have different revisions here that you can choose from, like you'll see when we get to the H81 motherboard, you'll need to make sure that you select the correct revision. And I've made a separate video on how to check which revision your motherboard is, and I'll link that in the cards now, so you can go ahead and watch that if you're not sure how to check which revision your motherboard is. But once you're on your motherboard's webpage, you can go ahead and click on the support tab. And then next you can scroll down past all the drivers and then go to the utility tab. You can click on utility, and then right here you need to have a look for a utility called @BIOS. And that's what we want right there. Now you'll also see that you need to install the App Center first before you can install this utility. But once you've found @BIOS, you can go ahead and you can click on this icon here to download it. It's going to download it in a zip file. And then you can scroll up or down depending on your web page, and then you need to also download the App Center. And to do that, you can just click on this icon here again, and it's going to download the App Center. Now, just a note, you also need to install Microsoft.NET Framework 4.5 before you can install the App Center. But if you don't have it installed, you should get a prompt telling you to install that before you can continue. Now, once these files are finished downloading, you can go to your downloads, and I'm just going to click on the downloads folder so I can show this in my downloads folder. Now right here, I've got these 2 files, and because they are zip files, you'll need to extract them. So the easiest way you can do that, if you don't have any software installed, is you can just select it by clicking on it once, and then you can hold down the right click on your mouse and just drag it to an empty space. And when you let go of your mouse, you should get an extract option. Click on extract, then just click on extract again, and it's going to extract those files and then open the folder automatically. Just open the next folder, and then this is to install the App Center, which we need to do first. So just go ahead and click on this exe file, accept the terms, then it's going to install the App Center. Now to complete the installation, you'll need to restart your computer. So just go ahead and click on restart now. And then once your computer has finished restarting, if you click on the system tray, you should have this little icon, which is the App Center. And if you go ahead and double click on that to launch it, you should have the Gigabyte or AORUS App Center launched on your system. Now next, we need to go back to the downloads folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and open the downloads again. And then I need to extract the @BIOS files. So to do that, I'm just going to select it by clicking on it once. Then I'll right click on it and drag it to an empty space, and then click on extract, and then click on extract again. And then in this new folder, I'll just open @BIOS and then run the setup.exe file. Then click on next, click on install, and then click on finish. Now we can close these folders and we can go back to the App Center. And now you can see I've got this new app called @BIOS, which is installed inside of the App Center. Now we can use this to update the BIOS, and I'm going to click on that to launch it, and it's going to launch @BIOS. Now here you can see some information about your BIOS, and to check what the current version is that you have installed, you can check in the current BIOS version. It says that I have F65A installed. Now if you go back to the Gigabyte Motherboard's webpage and you scroll up and you click on the BIOS section here, you can also check what the latest version is that's available on the webpage. So it looks like I'm one version behind. Now to update the BIOS, inside of Add BIOS, you can click on Update from Server. Then you can choose any one of these servers, whichever one is closest to you. I'm just going to choose USA in this example. Then you can click on Next. If you do need to allow access to your network, just click on Allow Access. Now, sometimes this might happen where it says there are no BIOS files that can be found. And in this case, you can click on OK, and then you can go to the Gigabyte Motherboard's webpage. Then you can manually download the latest BIOS file by just clicking on this icon to download it. Once again, it's going to download in a zip file, and once it's finished, I'm just going to open it in the Downloads folder. I'm just going to extract it again, and then click on Extract, and now you should have this BIOS file. Now, just to make this simpler, I'm just going to drag this over to the desktop, and then close this folder and minimize the browser. Now inside of Add BIOS, you can click on Update from File. Then you need to select the file that you want to update. Now right here, the desktop is already selected where I saved the BIOS file. But if you don't see yours, you'll just need to navigate to where it's saved on your computer and then select it. Then you can click on OK. Then you can click on Next. Now here you'll see a warning saying that there is some potential risks to flashing the BIOS. And a very important thing that you need to take note of here is if you lose power to your computer or the electricity cuts out while doing a BIOS update, you have the risk of bricking your motherboard. So only do this if you're sure that you won't have any power interruptions or power cuts. And on average, these BIOS updates can take around 5 minutes, but it's never longer than 10 minutes. So just make sure that you have adequate time and that you have power before continuing with flashing your BIOS. Now once you're fine with that, you can click on OK. Then you should see a screen like this saying that it's reading the file. So your computer is going to restart automatically, and then it's going to update the BIOS, and I'll show you an example of what your screen should look like. Then your computer will restart and then boot up back into Windows again. And at that point, once you're back into Windows, you can just click on the system tray again, open the App Center on your computer, then click on the Add BIOS icon. And then you can just look under the BIOS information if your current BIOS version is actually updated to the latest available version on the web page. So once that's done, you've successfully updated your BIOS to the latest version from inside of Windows. Now next, let's have a look at the second method, and that's by updating the BIOS manually from within QFlash, which is a utility that comes with every Gigabyte motherboard. So like I said before, the next motherboard we're going to be using is a Gigabyte H81M, and I just got that from the system info page as well. And exactly like in the first method, we're just doing a Google search for that Gigabyte motherboard model number. Then we're going to go to the Gigabyte downloads page. Now, like I mentioned in the first method, here we can choose between different revisions for this motherboard. And I know this motherboard is a revision 2 motherboard, so I'm going to select revision 2, and you'll see that the web page also changes. If you don't know how to check what revision your motherboard is, you can just go down to the description of this video and I'll have a video linked there showing you how you can find out which revision you have. So once you have the correct revision selected, go down to the support page once again, then scroll all the way down until you get to the BIOS tab and then click on that. Then just scroll up again. And then you can go ahead and you can download the latest available BIOS version. You can do that by clicking on this icon to download it. Then you can choose where you want to save it. I'm just going to save it in the downloads folder. Once it's finished, just show it in folder. And then once again, you can just select this file, right click on it, and then drag it into an empty space in the folder. Then choose the extract option and then click on extract. And then it's going to show you these files from inside that folder. So once you have this BIOS file downloaded and saved to your computer, you need to plug in a USB flash drive, and preferably one that you don't have any files on or files that you don't care to lose. And then you can go to this PC, then select that flash drive. Then you can right click on it and then you can find the format option. For me, it's listed under more options. Then click on format. And then the most important thing that you need to change here is the file system has to be on FAT32. So select that, and then the rest of these you can just leave on default. Now, once you click on start, it is going to format this USB flash drive and delete all of the files on it. So just be aware of that. But you can click on start, then click on OK. And then once it's completed, just click on OK and then click on close. Now go back to your downloads folder or wherever you extract the BIOS file. Then select that BIOS file, right click on it, then select copy, then navigate to your flash drive and then just paste it onto your flash drive. Now once that's done, you can go ahead and you can restart your computer. And while your computer is starting up, you can press the end key on your keyboard to launch QFlash, and then you should be seeing a screen that looks similar to this. Now here you can see a bunch of information about your motherboard and the BIOS version that you currently have. So basically for me, I'm going to be flashing the same BIOS version that I currently have on this motherboard. But to update the BIOS, select the update BIOS from drive option, then click on it or press enter. Then just select your USB flash drive from this list, press enter, and then you should see the BIOS file that's saved on the USB flash drive. Just go ahead and select it and then press enter on your keyboard. It's going to read that file. Then it's going to ask if you're sure that you want to update the BIOS. Just make sure that you select yes, then press enter, and then it's going to start updating the BIOS. And then automatically your computer will restart again. It might restart twice or even 3 times, but just leave it and let it finish, and then it should boot up into Windows again. Now for the third method, we're also going to be using this H81M motherboard, and we're going to go back to the downloads folder where we extracted the latest BIOS for this motherboard with all of these files that we have here. But we're going to be using a bootable USB flash drive to flash the BIOS. Now we're going to need a utility called Rufus for this, and you can go to the Rufus webpage and then you can just download the portable version and then just save it to your computer. Then show it in your downloads folder and then just double click on it to launch it. You can just click no. And then you need to plug in the USB flash drive to your computer. As you can see, the flash drive is plugged into my computer and it detects it under the device tab. Then where it says boot selection, we need to click on this drop down menu and we need to create a free DOS system. So select free DOS. Then you can just leave all of these other settings on the default and then click on start and then click on OK. It's going to create that bootable USB flash drive. And then once it's finished, just click on close. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this folder with all of the BIOS files inside of it. We're going to select all of this, then right click on it, select copy, navigate back to the flash drive, and then we're just going to right click and paste all of those files and click replace the file in the destination if you do get any prompts like that. And once that's done, we can go ahead and we can restart the computer once again. Then press delete as your computer is busy starting up, because now in the BIOS settings, you first have to go and look for a setting called legacy support or CSM support. Now on this motherboard, in the peripherals section, I have this setting called legacy USB support, and that needs to be enabled. So just make sure that it is enabled on your motherboard. And then also in the BIOS features tab, if I scroll all the way down, I get to this option called storage boot option control, and you need to set this to legacy or CSM. So just have a look at the settings in your motherboard and change it to legacy first or legacy and UEFI. And once that's done, you can press F10 to save and exit those changes. Make sure yes is selected, then press enter on your keyboard. Your computer is going to restart, and once it starts up, press F12 so you can get to the boot menu. And now the option you're looking for is your USB flash drive. Now here you can see I have an option called SanDisk, which is my USB flash drive. But there's also another option called UEFI SanDisk, and that's the one we don't want to use. We just want to use the normal SanDisk, as that's the legacy boot option. So I'm going to press enter to select that. And then it's going to launch this free DOS BIOS flash update utility. And you can see it's automatically started flashing that BIOS to this motherboard. it's automatically also going to restart your computer. And like I said before, it might happen 2 or 3 times. Just leave your computer to run and it'll automatically start up again and boot into Windows once it's eventually finished with the BIOS update process. So this has been my guide on how to update the BIOS on your Gigabyte motherboard, and I hope this tutorial's been useful to you. If it was, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys soon.